Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. My name is John Shipley. I'm your host and beat reporter, and I have been your beat reporter covering the Jacksonville Jaguars for On SI every single day since August 2019, and we're continuing to march forward through yet another season together. As always, you can find all of our 100% free, 24/7 boots on the ground coverage of the Jacksonville Jaguars when you follow us on social media such as Facebook or Twitter, at Jaguars on SI. You can also find us at www.si.com/NFL/Jaguars. All right, folks, welcome to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. My name is John Shipley. Today, we continue to look at the Jaguars' big Week 4 matchup with the San Francisco 49ers. This is a game that I really think can be used as a benchmark game for the Jaguars, but it's also the start of a pretty tough 4-game stretch. They got the 49ers, then the Chiefs on Monday Night Football, then the Seahawks at home, and then the Rams in London. So a pretty pivotal stretch for the Jaguars here coming up. To me, the 49ers, and I'm saying this while thinking that the Rams are probably the best team in the NFC. I know the Eagles beat them, but realistically, the Rams outplayed them for much of that game. That's going to be a tough game in London. No matter, how you draw it up. That would be a tough game anywhere they play, but especially so in London. And I think playing the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football, even this rendition of the Chiefs, which has been kind of a so-so offense, 22-6 against the New York Giants, just complete slop of a game. I still think the 49ers might be their toughest test. I have a lot of respect for this 49ers team. I think that Robert Saleh is a really good defensive coordinator. He wants to rush 4, drop 7, doesn't want to play, that many games in terms of things they've thrown out schematically. He's just going to dare you to beat them. He's going to say, be more physical than my defense. Because we're going to do more or less the same things, same concepts they always do. And they're going to tell the Jaguars, hey, this is our defense. Try to attack it. And you saw last week how the Houston Texans, who, D'Amico was obviously in San Francisco for some time. Not, I'd say, the exact same scheme, but they do a lot of similar things. You saw how the Texans approach the Jaguars' offense, where it was clear that the Texans, first and foremost, wanted to stop the Jaguars' rushing attack. So to me, I think that the 49ers, they've been a better pass defense than they've been a rush defense. I wonder how much of their resources do they devote to stopping the run this weekend, as opposed to matching up against the Jaguars' passing game that just hasn't really clicked. It's been odd so far. That's really the only way to put it. The week 1, a couple flashes, but it didn't really push the ball downfield. It didn't feel like the Jaguars thought that they had to do all that much in the passing game to win that game. Understandable. Week 2, on one hand, Trevor Lawrence has, 1 to 2 really just awful plays. On the other hand, he probably should have had 5 touchdowns in a lot of ways. And then week 3, quarterback's off the game. Receivers drop 5 passes. When the quarterback's on, the receivers are off. When the receivers are on, the quarterback was off. It's really a conundrum what the passing game looks like right now. But the numbers don't lie. Neither does the film. Right now, the Jaguars are better at running the football than they are passing the ball. And I think that comes as a big surprise. It's a surprise for me. I thought Brian Thomas Jr. would pick up right where he left off, and that Trevor Lawrence would just come out firing in this new scheme. And just because that hasn't happened yet in 3 games, obviously, does not mean it won't happen. That's just what my preconceived bias and notion was of what the offense would look like. On the flip side, I was very adamant throughout training camp and preseason. I was not sure how good this offensive line would be. I know what Liam Coen did in Tampa, but I was not sure what this rushing attack would look like. I'd even argue I was probably closer to the side of thinking it'd be leaving a little to be desired as opposed to optimistic about it. And it's completely shut me up. I mean, I know they struggled to run in the first half against Houston. But that was a Houston defense that was selling out to stop the run. It's a good defense to begin with. And I think overall, this Jaguars offensive line, this running game, the tight ends, the running backs, even some of the receivers and run blocking, have done enough to maybe not earn the complete benefit of the doubt, but to earn some. And that to me is why I think Sunday's game is going to be a fascinating chess match between Liam Coen and Robert Saleh. Two guys who approach the game very differently, but also in very similar ways. In terms of similar ways, I mean, two guys who preach energy, two guys who preach speed, two guys who preach physicality. The 49ers defense has taken on the personality of their coordinator. And I believe the Jaguars team has taken on the personality of Liam Coen. Now that to me, they are playing exactly how I think him and his coaching staff said that they wanted to play. Now, is the execution always there? No. Is even Coen himself, in terms of managing the game and stuff, is he all the way there? No. But I think, he said that they wanted to be a physical team. They wanted to run the ball. They preached this over and over again. And they've done it. It wasn't just lip service. To Coen's credit, they've done exactly that. I mean, 75 rushing yards in the second half against Houston. So, it's a team and an offense that has done and preached what their head coach has said he wants to do. He wants to be physical. He wants to beat a bully. He hasn't said that, but it's clear that's what they're looking for. And they have tracked that so far. And I think him and Saleh are really similar in those ways. Now, on the flip side of it, where they're different and why I think this is a fascinating kind of matchup. And yeah, I'm probably making this matchup out bigger than it's supposed to be. Because, yeah, the coaches coaching against each other. But also, I think if Coen doesn't take the Jaguars' offer to be the head coach and stays in Tampa Bay, like what was originally happening, I think there's a good chance Saleh could have been the Jaguars' head coach. So I think Saleh, the way that he approaches his defense, like I said, is I don't think he's trying to confuse the offense. I don't think he's trying to throw many wrinkles at them, which obviously he's going to do some. I mean, every NFL team does something. But by comparison to like true exotic defenses that the Jaguars might see this year, I don't think, he's that. I don't think that he's going to present that kind of defense. He wants to have his guys, play a fast, violent brand of football, show the same things over and over, and kind of force an offense to be okay with, checking it down, not hitting the long ball, etc. Whereas Liam Coen, I think his offense is kind of the opposite approach. I don't think it wants to simplify things. I think it wants to be able to hurt our defense in so many ways and do so many different things that it's hard to game plan for them week to week. That they are going to game plan to attack the opponent's weaknesses as opposed to doing their same staple week in, week out, etc. Like, obviously, yes, they do that to an extent, like every offense does. But Liam Coen, I see much more as the mad scientist kind of play caller. And Robert Saleh wants to simplify it. So I'm fascinated to see who wins this battle. I think one of the better play callers in the NFL on both sides of the ball. I think it's a matchup that, to me, it's tough to say any one guy has the advantage. Now, obviously, the 49ers defense has been very consistent from the start of the season. The Jaguars passing game you probably can't say as much for, but regardless, I think it is a game that will come down to whose unit between these two guys comes through in the biggest moments. And right now, it's tough not to think the 49ers have the edge. But, when a team has a Liam Coen, it's hard to count them out. That's what I've learned about this Jaguars regime so far. Thank you guys for listening to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. My name is John Shipley. I'll be back next time.